Welcome to Who Dares Rolls. We're turning the lights down low because it's almost the spooky season, and as such, I have something rather unfathomable to show you. So, this is Unfathomable. It's by Fantasy Flight Games / Asmodee. It's a kind of a reskin of Battlestar Galactica. Now, the Battlestar Galactica board game is easily one of my top 5 or so board games. I have listed them a long time ago now on the Who Dares Rolls podcast, back when we had one of those, and it was a firm favourite. And as I'm sure Mike's already told you, I'm a bit of a fan of Fantasy Flight's Arkham Files. I got into the golden age of board games back in, I think, 2000, roughly. I spent a New Year's Eve playing the Buffy board game, the American version of the Buffy board game, which was great fun. And from there went to all the standard classics, your Carcassonne, your Catan, all of that. And when I started having a look at the same place I bought this, actually, at Dave's Comics in Brighton, I ended up picking up Arkham Horror 2nd edition. And it's long and a bit tedious, but there was something there. There was a spark. Something I really enjoyed about the characters, the world, and as time went on, I followed Fantasy Flight through pretty much anything from their Arkham Files universe. I'm even one of the people that actually bought and read the novellas instead of just prying loose the LCG cards, and they're good. They're not the best, they're not amazing, they're not like Lovecraft Country or Wintertide as far as alternate takes on Lovecraftian fiction, but there's something still quite interesting and quite fun about the world. It still keeps that same Lovecraftian horror tone, but somehow kind of helps keep it a bit more diverse and a bit more human. And if you're looking for Lovecraftian fiction, that's why it's often best not to really bother with old HPL himself. Like, he doesn't really write people. He writes amazing kind of phenomena and fear and madness and weird, unspeakable creatures, so horrifying that the author can get away with not actually describing them, because they're that unspeakable, that unfathomable. So it's always interesting seeing people who are taking his ideas and playing with them, making alternate versions, making things a bit pulpier in some regards, a bit more historically accurate in others, and in the case of the Arkham Files world, creating some really fun, really compelling, really diverse characters. And these days, why the fuck not, really? You can't all just be effete, white, European descended kind of New Englanders thinking that you're hot shit, really. But this isn't a rant on Lovecraft. Mike has a rant on Lovecraft. It's good fun, actually. He does a really good job with it. This is about the new hotness. Now, this is smaller, hopefully a bit shorter. It's currently only for 3 to 6 players, and I'm really interested in seeing what's different about it. So, unlike last time, when I was unboxing Oath, I have a knife, I have scissors, I have an alternate screen for the close-ups, and without further ado, let's crack into it. I say that, I'm going to show you something in a sec. So the box, nice, big. Here it is against a standard copy of the Cape on DVD. A standard measuring size, as we all know. Now, always love that new game smell and feeling. Now, Fantasy Flight are known for empty boxes, you know, boxes with a lot of interesting stuff, but a lot of space. So let's see how they do here. We have the rules. Well, learn to play, rules reference, advertising shtick. Again, I think I've only got a couple of these novels. I've only read one so far, but it's good fun. It's more connected to the Arkham world than it initially sounded. So we have one sheet of tokens here. So these standees, if I remember correctly, are to mark out who's a traitor, because in this game you are all sailing on the Atlantica. You are trying to get home, you're trying to cast a ritual, and the problem is some of your deep ones. Maybe one of you's a cultist who just really loves the fish people, just can't get enough of them. So with that, you are trying to get home, putting in cards to challenges, carrying out actions, using your unique abilities and items, and if you're the traitors, if you're the deep ones, trying to wreck the ship. One of the fun things is you're trying to wreck the ship, but if you're a cultist, the deep ones, you're trying to wreck the ship, but you're enough to land that you can swim back to shore and survive, because the deep ones don't care about that. And while it's pretty much the same as one of the Cylon type roles in Battlestar Galactica, I just love that idea of, okay, we can wreck this ship, yeah, hell, you know, Dagon and Hydra and all of that, but could we just leave it a moment? I can only swim so far. I've got a bronze swimming certificate, you know. That's kind of charming. So I should have bought some baggies up for all these tokens. Let's see these. Oh, I don't know. My ooh there is because it felt a token popped out there and it felt a little different, a little, I don't know, just slightly smoother than the normal texture that I pick up on with Fantasy Flight. I'm not going to go full obsessive over the texture of the token, but it's interesting. I wonder if they're printing slightly differently or anything. So, we have these, which are the ship and I believe the spell. We have, now old me would have even kept the extra fluff on these tokens here, which you're going to put around your base. I've got tons. In fact, these drawers here might well have tons of the plastic bases. I've used them for a number of different role-playing games as character standees before. Let's see, we have characters. Now, BSG had a bunch of characters originally and then a ton of characters from expansions. This, obviously, while it's learning from the Battlestar Galactica in its complete form, this is it. This is a game from scratch. So I'm assuming it's going to take some elements of some of the expansions, possibly, and others from scratch. I kind of hope there's a Pegasus-style expansion of, like, here's a second, more militaristic, more kind of awful boat that we can wreck at some point. So we have an all-new cast of characters. Each of these have not been seen in Arkham Files before, and there's a reason for that. This is set in, I believe it's 1914. It's a great deal earlier. And I can kind of see why they did it. Firstly, you've got some more nautical characters. Secondly, you also have a number of issues with going, oh, this person, Jenny Barnes, you're a traitor. Oh, no. Oh. With some players that, you do kind of develop a bit of an attachment for some of the characters. So knowing all of these are expendable, all of them are traitors, potentially, is fun. So we have these dials, which has humour for your kind of equivalent to your food, fuel, morale, and so on. We have that, a steering wheel. We have these tokens, which are civilians. They are... boom. Ah, that's a nice one. You don't lose anything. It's where you lose people. Don't lose anything again. That feels generous. We always had the slightly callous thought that the Battlestar Galactica ship full of civilians that would get blown up in a crisis was the orphanage ship, which sounds a little rough when you say it out loud like that, but it doesn't contain food or fuel. I guess actually morale might be the one for it. Now, here's the board. I'm going to knife it and try not to destroy it. My old Battlestar Galactica board game mat was sadly destroyed by a good friend of mine and a group of other friends who were playing it while I was away to Minicon at one point. And it saw a lot of play, so it was probably its time. But my BSG board kind of came apart into two sections, and while we played it a few times with that, I feel I've probably played Battlestar Galactica maybe to a level where, God, possibly to the runtime of the show. Hopefully not, just for my own sanity here. So, oh, we have a large board. Ooh, it's definitely larger than a DVD copy of the Cape. It feels larger than the BSG board, especially because it has this top section for your movement track, your Destiny deck, or whatever it's going to be called. I think it's Chaos or something. And you've got bits to punch out for the dials here, which means there'll also be bits of plastic to fix them on. So that's all pretty neat. Yes, we have the requisite bits of plastic and a green D8. Because, yeah, get everything all weird and Cthulhu-y coloured and Cthulhu-y looking. Right, we have a number of cards. We have character cards, reference cards, I think. We have big cards. These require, I think, 2 packs of what were the green Fantasy Flight sleeves. I might actually have enough of that. These require apparently 5 of the what were the yellow Fantasy Flight sleeves. I need to find out what the replacement is for these. I do not have enough for this, and I'm not willing to risk the Great Pepsi Max disaster of 2012, where my copy of Eldritch Horror suffered a terrifying fate. Luckily, my friends, my partner were good enough and fast enough to rescue it. So we have reference cards, but we also have characters now, actually on this camera. It's a little dark, so what I'm going to do is budge these up a bit. that's future Charlie's problem with what's going to happen to them. So we have the captain, who's experienced, and if they become the traitor, then they have a special ability, unlike the you're a Cylon, you're not a Cylon cards. Now, when I played BSG, there tended to be a disconnected moment where you would say, right, everyone, look at your loyalty cards and give it a moment, because the you're not a Cylon card will just say you're not a Cylon, but the you are a Cylon, you'll need to do a bit of reading, and it was a bit of a giveaway, especially with some of the slower readers in the group. So we have Arjun Singh, the first mate. We have Svetlana Gidroitz. We're going to have to learn or agree to a pronunciation pretty quickly with these, because if it's anything like BSG, then hopefully it's going to see a lot of play. The ship surgeon, the engineer, the master at arms, the apprentice, the mathematician, the XR, the Jinx, the stowaway, and then we have, let's see, a full group complement of reference cards. These will show you each location of the ship and what it does, so you don't need to peer over and have people going, why are you eyeing up the brig? Why are you eyeing up this place? And so I'm not going to blow it up. Honest. There are more specific rules here, again, in the darkness, about revealing yourself, about being in the brig, about attacking, because there is kind of combat. Battlestar Galactica had you in spaceships, had you in Vipers, running around shooting Cylon raiders, and that was all right, but it was like maybe a third of the group who would be taking part in that, so it felt like a weird gating off of part of the experience, and the rest of you were either unable to access them or rubbish at them. So yeah, it was a bit of an odd one. In this, I guess everyone needs to pitch in, and it's combined the Cylons flying around the ship and the Cylons actually infiltrating, because they will board this. Oh, I've just realised this isn't these cards. These aren't the last of it. I'll leave the most exciting till last, of course. And yeah, we've got revealed traitor mechanics and what the deep ones do. So that's all thrilling, I'm sure. Let's see, let's have a quick rummage here. Next up, we have, and I love this graphic design that they've been doing on these cards. We have problems. So the event cards here, normally Mythos cards or anything like that in their games, are things like accusation. A passenger has accused someone aboard of being in league with the Deep Ones. The accused insists upon their innocence. Someone with authority needs to step in. So, the captain then has to pick. Detain the accused, choosing a human who's not in the brig, and move them to the brig. Or, decline to act. You and the current player discard 2 skill cards and shuffle 2 treachery cards into the chaos deck. So there are treachery cards again, and I guess it's chaos deck. Then you got these lovely little symbols here showing what activates, and I quite like that it tells you what the 2 actions are. That feels almost like you go, oh, but I don't want to decline to act, I don't want to be an indecisive captain. And skill challenges are some of the more common ones here. So you can see the standard Arkham horror, Eldritch horror, whatever horror. kind of skill symbols. Pump and book need to meet a difficulty of 11. As a deep one has sneaked aboard and is threatening to wreak havoc. You must find it before it has a chance to act. And then we have the pass, the fail, and on an 8+. Again, we have the symbols there. So, nice, easy. If you've played BSG, this all seems pretty normal. You're a human, in theory. You're a hybrid. Oh, got that Innsmouth look to you. And you're a cultist. Oh, hello, cultist. There are also cards for the captain and the keeper of the tome. Now, keeper of the tome seems to be a bit like the president role in BSG, and they tell you the line of succession on the back, which is really nice. I've no idea what they'll do with expansions, but the captain checks out where you're going, and you pick some of the things to do when someone in the brig draws a mythos card. So these are indeed mythos cards. Then, keeper of the tome, look at the top 2 cards for spell deck, one on the bottom, then resolve the others. So again, I guess kind of like the president and the quorum cards if you played BSG. So that's all fairly standard, fairly neat. Gonna put those away because I need to actually remember to keep track of these rather than just be covered in tokens and cards and stuff when I'm done. You can tell I'm very professional at this whole unboxing thing. Next up, we have the wee little cards. Now there are tons of them, and there's a reason. So, we have the majority of the deck here. These are skill cards. Again, lovely design. Each one of them has a value on them. So Inspiring Speech has a 5 here and gives you alternative actions as well as points you can put into a skill challenge to help if you're a human, or you might put the wrong colour in to hinder if you're a hybrid. So, Inspiring Speech. Roll a die. If it's 3 or more, gain a sanity. If not, lose 1. I don't know if that's collective sanity or what. There's nothing to hide. Before cards are added to a skill check, they're all added in face up. This is one of those cards that I've seen in BSG and loved. Was it Investigative Committee? Something like that. So we have Influence. We have Law. So the book stat. We have Observation. So add 2 or remove 2 from the result. Quite nice. And a bit of a merging of a previous card, if I remember correctly. Draw 2 skills. We have Strength. When you be defeated, play to prevent yourself from being defeated. Yeah, looks like you might be able to die here. There's True Grit. So from Will. Let's see, Determination, Persistence. I'm assuming somewhere here is the old one where you're able to get other people to act for you, which was wonderful. Yeah, there you go. Choose another character, they perform an action. So if they're nearer to the engine than you can get them stoking the engine. It's a little weaker than the BSG equivalent, but it's still just as dangerous because you could go, I trust you, put this person in a brig, or I trust you, stoke the engines, or shoot that deep one. And then they reveal. And they've done it effectively for free. And then there are Treachery Cards. These can only be used if you are a hybrid. But they always negatively impact your skill checks. I assume there might be one or two that have the symbol and actually be positive, but almost always these are bad cards, and bad cards that are going to help the deep ones. So what else do we have? We have character abilities. In BSG, your characters each had a one-off ability that took up the bottom right corner of their character card, and when you used it, it was gone. And in the final expansion, they had tokens to represent that you had it, or lost it, or regained it, because there were ways of regaining it. Here, you have a card, and it's kind of neat, the idea of, okay, my once per game ability, again, there may be ways of getting it back, and if I use it, I can just turn it face down, I can get rid of it, I can do something that doesn't keep the rules that I'm not able to use anymore taking up table space. And that's quite neat. We have, these are the spells. So, alchemical transmutation. Lose a food to gain 2 fuel. Call friends. Rescue any number of passengers, roll a die. If it's less than or equal to the number of passengers rescued, resolve that icon, which looks an awful lot like fishy people move, which would be bad. So actually, let's see, they all look like there's a bit of a cost. So if you've played the final BSG expansion, there's a kind of rebel leader sort of role, a kind of antagonist sort of role, which I always loved having multiple roles, being able to be God King by being President and Admiral. And we had God King Emperor, which was President, Admiral, and CAG. And then the kind of renegade leader, sort of rebel leader sort of thing, was nigh impossible to get, but technically doable. And their cards were always, I will help you, but it's going to sting. So you really needed to trust who it was, because otherwise they could mess up your entire game. Go, right, I'm blowing up these ships. It's for a good cause, honestly, because I am human, but I just have to, you know? Especially because you had to use them. Otherwise you'd end up brigged. No one likes being brigged. Do want to know if the rules are going to be the same for the brig here, or if it'll be a little more merciful, because no one wants to sit out a game. Anyway, next up we have items. This is new, this whole item thing. There aren't many, and I'm kind of pleased. I was worried it would be a huge Eldritch Horror type stack. But there are things like an almanac. Before a die is rolled, discard an observation card from your hand to add that card's value to the die result. Once per roll. We have tomes, Book of Dagon. Move all deep ones in your space to a single adjacent space, so you can shoo them away. An Elder Sign. You've got cards that improve your stats. Jam Tin Grenade. Okay, defeat each deep one, character and passenger in an adjacent space. If the space is undamaged, damage it. Remove this card from the game. That sounds like a very nice lost measure, or a very nice piece of sabotage for all the deep ones out there. Pocket pistol. Shotgun, 6-shooter. Now, look, Lovecraftian fiction, stuff like Call of Cthulhu, it's never been about guns with me. I've always blown my foot off or watched players shoot each other, either accidentally or because of events that transpired. But in games like this, can be necessary. There is a dog. Can you pet it? You can remove it from the game to prevent yourself from being defeated, so it can sacrifice itself to save you. are... I wonder if this is going to be one of those cards where no one does that. And performing as hack against an enemy in your space and get an action. This is really nice. This is... I mean, so I like PSG, and I entirely get what people mean when they say about Starbuck being a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, and she is kind of, spoilers, kind of in a literal sense by the end. But she's still pretty good, and this is a nice, fun reference to the board game version. So yeah, I'm surprised there's not more subtle references to the BSG board game. Maybe there are, and this initial overview hasn't revealed them yet. So we have these. These are your locations. An abandoned depot. Risk 3 passengers to roll a die. Try and gain some fuel. So again, they've consolidated aspects from the BSG board game. So passengers look like they are also the turkeys as well. Lose 2 fuel and 1 food. Lose 2 fuel, spawn a deep one in each deck space. So these look a bit rough. Risk a passenger to roll a die. If it's 5 or more, gain a food. And of course, people can play things to modify that. So, your locations. I quite like the look of them as well, having mostly seen the locations in BSG just as, it's more space. This one might have a planet on it. Seeing different colours, it's not all just night, it's not all just dark. And then whatever these are, risk a passenger, place this card on the bottom of the damage deck and draw another one. Flooded food stores, fuel leak, structural damage. Okay. I wonder if those look like they might be damage to locations. Interesting. Still, finally, last but not least, I know what you'll want to see. You'll love a bit of plastic. But before that, yeah, this is the box. A lot of space used up by all of this. I do wonder how much space all of this will take up when popped out, put into Wilco boxes or anything like that. I generally either ditch the inlay or reverse it, and that way you've got 2 places to put things in, and then cut out the central bit, and then you've got 3 for miniatures, tokens, cards, which is probably what I'm going to do here. Okay, I've teased enough plastic. Let's check out the plastic. So, what have we got here? Not miniatures for people, which I can see how some folks might get a bit dissatisfied with that, but I don't know, if it keeps costs down, and this is a 75-80 quid game depending on where you go, then maybe it's a necessity. Hopefully some lovely folks at Etsy will end up making some minis or some plastic standees or something for them, but this isn't a minis war game. It doesn't need it. Although, what's this? It's a miniature. It's a deep one. Oh no, it's got aboard the table. Oh, it's another one. And another. Having a meeting. Oh, so many of them now. Oh, they're getting all over the place. I'm going to have to lay some traps down. We have. I was going to take them all out one by one, but there are too many. There are a ton of these naughty little fish boys here. Oh. That one's the worst offender of the lot. He got caught on the baggie. but I think this shows just how bad the situation could get. I don't know how easy they are to defeat. I don't know how doomed you are if a bunch of them get on your ship, but yeah, that's a lot. So these are the equivalent of the Cylon Raiders and of the Centurions getting on board, from what I've seen so far. Again, much like I'll need to come back and give a bit of a postscript. And yeah, at the moment, I'm planning on having a 3-player game, just to figure out the rules, just to feel it out. And then, come November, come CabinCon, I am so pumped to get this to the table with some friends that I've not seen in a long time. So, we've got these deep ones. Ooh, they're bad. They're fishy. Boom! Oh, no. Ooh, they never really do. Your great old ones or your big, giant monsters in your Mansions of Madness or anything like that. But here they are. These are, I think, Mother Hydra, Father Dagon. I've already lost the reference card. They are... So, these are the equivalent of the base stars in Battlestar Galactica. So they will be chasing us. They will be doing all sorts of various things. Yeah, so the big one there is Mother Hydra. And Mother Hydra is gonna just spawn some things and just lamp your ship. If she gets near enough, just boom. Vicious. And Father Dagon is all about spawning them and flinging them up onto the boat for you to have to deal with. I expect to curse their name in the near future. Now, I have a friend, Steve, who is very good at painting, very graciously. He's painted a ton of minis for me. I love that he's done this. It's really nice. I don't think these are going to get painted. I think they're the right kind of green. And this is a board game more than a miniatures game. This is the kind of thing where actually just the wave of this plastic green, this very toyetic green on the table will be enough. So, that is Unfathomable. It is a bit pricey, but if it's anywhere near as good as BSG, it is going to be worth it. I'll report back on how this plays, and it's going to be a fun, spooky, unfathomably good time. So, that's it from me. Obviously, do the usual things, Patreon, subscribe, like, all of that, and have a suitably spooky evening.